Elizabeth Holmes once promised a revolutionary device that could run quick, cheap tests for many conditions with just a single drop of blood.
We'd like to see a world in which every person gets access to this type of basic testing, and the types of tests that are done are ones that provide insight into the onset of disease in time to do something about it.
But that turned out too good to be true. This year, Holmes, the founder of Theranos, will finally stand trial for charges of fraud. But how did Holmes, once lauded as the youngest female self-made billionaire, fall spectacularly from grace?
How do you make people believe in you? I think you have to believe in yourself, and I think you have to have...
In 2003, 19-year-old Elizabeth Holmes launched Theranos after dropping out of Stanford. Early plans for a wearable patch gave way to dreams of developing a blood testing device. They were eventually dubbed the Edison and the Mini Lab. Holmes remained tight-lipped about how their technology worked, but despite the secrecy, she attracted investors. By 2010, the company was valued at over $1 billion. Major drug makers like Pfizer and Novartis tested their device. Theranos came out of the shadows in 2013, where it made a splash announcing a prominent partnership with Walgreens and opened the first Theranos Wellness Center in Palo Alto. Eventually, the company grew to over 40 wellness centers in Walgreens pharmacies across Arizona, California, and Pennsylvania. Money from investors poured in. At its peak, the company was valued at a staggering $9 billion.
You want to fix the diagnostic testing.
Yeah.
You want to fix tests.
At the time, Stats Matthew Herper was covering Theranos at Forbes and interviewed Holmes on stage at their Under 30 Summit.
Theranos was a very difficult story because they kind of came out of the box as this much talked about in industry and in Wall Street story where we really didn't know anything about this company. They kind of appeared out of nowhere with this stunning valuation. Usually you have a bunch of smaller funding rounds, you have scientific publications, and all of that didn't happen. And so there was a lot of demand from editors and readers for stories about them, and people became really captivated with Elizabeth Holmes.
Holmes's face graced the cover of magazines. She was listed as one of Time's most influential people in 2015 and made the rounds on major media outlets.
Do you own a TV?
No.
Why not?
I work all the time.
But serious doubts were cast on the company when the Wall Street Journal published the first of many stories in October 2015. Reporter John Carreyrou detailed skepticism among doctors about the validity of the test results and revealed that out of the over 240 tests Theranos offers, only 15 were done on the Edison. Holmes came firing back at the Journal on CNBC's Mad Money.
This is what happens when you work to change things, and first they think you're crazy, then they fight you, and then all of a sudden you change the world.
But in the months that followed, more reporting exposed even deeper problems at Theranos. Under pressure from the FDA, the company stopped using its nanotainers, the device it uses to collect blood from finger pricks, for all but one test. In November, Safeway ended its $350 million partnership with Theranos before it could even get off the ground. Months later, the Walgreens partnership also fell apart. By this time, multiple federal agencies were investigating Holmes and Theranos. In July 2016, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services banned Holmes from owning or operating a medical laboratory for 2 years and levied a fine. Then, in 2018, two major charges fell upon the company.
The SEC is charging Theranos CEO Elizabeth Holmes and former Theranos president Sunny Balwani with raising more than $700 million from investors through an elaborate years-long fraud.
Holmes had to give up control of her company, return millions of shares, and was barred from leading a public company for 10 years. Months later in June,
Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes has now officially been indicted on federal wire fraud charges. The U.S. Attorney's Office accusing her of engaging in a multi-million-dollar scheme to defraud investors, doctors, and patients. Former Theranos COO
Holmes stepped down as CEO of Theranos. Finally, in September 2018, Theranos announced that it would be shutting down. And that brings us to 2021. After months of delays, jury selection for Holmes' trial will finally begin on August 31st. The trial, which was originally scheduled for summer 2020, was postponed multiple times because of the coronavirus pandemic and Holmes' pregnancy. If convicted, Holmes could face significant fines and up to 20 years in prison.
I wouldn't be surprised if it winds up being a rather boring trial, which is mostly aimed at getting her the most lenient sentence possible. I also wouldn't be surprised if they fight tooth and nail to prove that she's somehow innocent. This has been a story which has been exceptional. I think we all want to watch precisely because we have no idea what's going to happen.